Once again, Qinji and I were arguing because of his ex-wife. Our 10-year-old son burst in, shouting angrily at me, "Dad and I just want to be with my real mom. We want our family of 3 to be together. You're an outsider. Who are you to control us?" Outsider. That's how he defined me. The one who had been called mom for 7 years. Meanwhile, Qinji did not reprimand our son for his rudeness towards me. He supported him with silence. At that moment, the persistence of the past 7 years collapsed with a thunderous crash. I am tired. Later, I remarried. And Qinji's son came to see me. Mom. My husband stood on the terrace, holding our newborn daughter, looking down and saying, "Child, not just anyone can call my wife mommy. Dr. Shin, can you manage your son properly?" I sat in the car, witnessing with my own eyes as Qinji held his son's hand, accompanied by his ex-wife Su Shaoqing, as they left her villa. No, not an ex-wife. To be precise, it was an ex-girlfriend. 10 years ago, one was a child of a humble family and the other a daughter of a wealthy family. 2 people who should never have crossed paths fell deeply in love and even talked about marriage at one point. But love could not withstand reality. The girl became pregnant before marriage and was unable to get married. After giving birth to a boy, she was arranged by her family to go abroad, get married, and in the blink of an eye, 10 years passed. Qinji had to take care of the child alone while working, feeling both embarrassed and exhausted. It wasn't until 7 years ago that I went to the hospital for a checkup and met him. The surgeon. After much persistence, I became his first wife and the second mother to his son. From then on, his son had someone to take care of him, and there was someone to manage his dinner. He returned from surgery in the early morning, and someone had left a warm light on for him at the entrance. A seemingly happy family was born from my efforts. But now, Su Shaoqing has returned. She wore a graceful qipao, her seaweed-like long hair cascading over her shoulders, elegantly knocking on the door of my home with an overwhelming presence. She had previously made it clear that she had no intention of interfering in my marriage with Qinji, only coming to see the child. But it seems that Qinji does not think so. It is now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he has a very important surgery. The patient has waited a full 3 months for his scheduled time. At this moment, he should be in the operating room, focusing all his attention on his patient, rather than being beside his ex-wife, gazing at his former lover with passionate eyes alongside his son. Yet in the 7 years of our marriage, he has never cast such a gaze upon me. Just once. Sun Chen Xiao tightly held Su Shaoqing's hand, while acting cute and loudly pleading, "Mom, let's go to the amusement park together. Dad and Mom have never played with me together. How could that be? Every weekend I have to accompany Qinji to ride the roller coaster with him." Oh, I've been overly sentimental again. He was not referring to me when he mentioned Mom, but to his biological mother, although Qinji remained silent. His eager gaze was a warm invitation directed at Su Shaoqing. He stood beside his former lover, tall and slender, wearing gold-rimmed glasses. 10 years had passed, and they were both in their 40s. Yet time seemed to have taken nothing from them. A grand and remarkable adult fairy tale continued to unfold. Their love's fruit stands between them, affirming the existence and continuity of their love with undeniable facts. Someone once said that old lovers are like Wi-Fi. If you get a little closer, you can connect. It seems that someone has already connected. The early summer heat is already intense. The car's air conditioning is off. Yet I feel icy all over. I didn't want to watch any longer, so I started the engine early and returned to that home that was soon to no longer belong to me. At 7 in the evening, Su Shaoqing finally returned her son. The first thing her son said upon returning was, "Mom Zhao, today it was just me and Mom together. No one else." Not being good at lying, I immediately gave myself away. In front of his biological mother, I had automatically become Mom Zhao with a prefix. A momentary embarrassment flashed across Su Shaoqing's face. but she quickly regained her usual elegance and poise. Just like the first time she sent Shen Xixiao back. She brought me, the stepmother, a lot of gifts. All high-end clothing and skincare products. I felt a mix of emotions but maintained my dignity, smiling as I thanked my husband's ex. You are too generous. Shen Xixiao immediately interjected. No need to spend so much. My mom is very wealthy and doesn't care about such a small amount. Su Shaoqing politely stopped Shen Xixiao and affectionately complained. This child has been spoiled by me. She had only been back for 10 days. And after meeting Shen Xixiao for the third time, she had already managed to spoil him. Yet my 7 years of hard-earned education couldn't compete with her 3 instances of indulgence as his biological mother. After Su Shaoqing left, I brought out the food that was heating in the pot. A plate of braised pork ribs and a plate of boiled shrimp. Both of which Shen Xiaoping usually loves to eat. But today, he didn't even glance at them and loudly said, My mom took me to eat top-grade steak at a 5-star hotel for dinner. Have you heard of Japanese Wagyu? I was really angry. Of course I've heard of it. I can't afford a villa with the money I earn each month. But I can still buy a steak. I held back my rising anger and asked him in a calm voice, Does your dad like to eat it too? I know that Shinji doesn't like to eat beef. He once said that as a child. He witnessed farmers slaughtering cows in the street. The cows' cries were heart-wrenching and sorrowful. And from that moment on, he never ate a bite of beef. So since marrying him, I have never cooked beef at home. Nor have I ever taken him out for steak. But Shen Xixiao had already forgotten the lies he told when he first returned, and blurted out, Of course my dad likes to eat it. As long as it's something my mom likes. Dad likes it too. Good. Very good. Shen Xixiao continued to go back to his room to play with the new toy his mother bought for him. I waited alone in the living room for Shinji to return. Time passed minute by minute. The evening glow outside faded away, and the stars leaped onto the sky, eventually disappearing as well. Finally, there was some movement outside the door. I woke up from the sofa to find Shinji changing his shoes at the entrance. He was still dressed as he had been during the day, in a white shirt and black trousers. Looking every bit the refined scoundrel. Because he was too tired, he leaned against the wall of the entrance with his eyes closed, the dim light repeatedly sketching the sharp, upright bridge of his nose, his deep-set eyes, and the well-defined angles of his jaw on his calm face. At first, it was this very appearance that attracted me, and at just over 20 years old, I found myself caught in his vortex. I know he is 10 years older than me. I also know he has children. Moreover, I know that in memory of his ex, he named his son Shen Xixiao Shinjisi Mrs. Su Shaoqing. But I dropped out of school at 16 to work as a factory girl, and after the workshop director touched me, I hit him with a wrench and knocked him out. At 18, I sold drinks in a bar, dealing with those unscrupulous customers every day. By the time I was 20, I had rented a shop on the pedestrian street to sell clothes, going alone to the wholesale market in the dead of night to restock. Before I met Shinji, I had been navigating the world for 6 or 7 years. What bizarre and fantastical things have I not seen? It's just a single man with a burden, such a common setup. And that man is a doctor so handsome it makes you scream. A PhD graduate, the sharp knife of their department. What do I have to complain about? With overflowing hormones and a determination that wouldn't waver even in death. I won over Shinji after a year, and not only did we end up in the same bed, but our names were also listed on the same household registration. Shen Xixiao bounced around all day, following me and calling mommy, mommy. At that time, I thought I had one, but stretching the timeline to now, it turns out I hadn't. Shinji finally saw me on the sofa. He took off his glasses, pinched the corners of his eyes, and asked me softly, Why aren't you asleep yet? During the day, when he saw Su Shaoqing, he was still affectionate and in great spirits. Now, speaking to me, even his voice carried a hint of exhaustion. As he passed by me, I asked, Is the steak good? He suddenly stopped, turned to look at me, as if trying to confirm just how much I really knew. I laughed. I thought you really didn't like eating beef. It turns out you just don't like eating it with me. A hint of impatience crossed his face. Stop messing around. It's not what you think. I couldn't help but ask loudly, am I the one being unreasonable? You skipped the most important surgery just to meet your ex. Who exactly is being unreasonable here? Shinji, do you know, you are particularly bad at lying. In the past, whenever you came home late, you never informed me in advance, but in the last 10 days, you've called me 3 times asking me not to wait for you at night, and during those 3 times, you were with Su Shaoqing, right? His face turned pale, but he couldn't say a word. At that moment, Shinsi, who should have been fast asleep, suddenly came out of his room and pushed me hard in front of him. The 10-year-old boy was only a few inches shorter than me, and I was unexpectedly pushed off balance, grabbing onto the back of the sofa in a panic to avoid falling to the ground. He shouted at me angrily. My dad and I just want to be with my biological mom. We want our family to be together. You are an outsider. What right do you have to interfere with us? Outsider. It felt like a heavy blow from the heart, and I stood there in a daze. 7 whole years. More than 2,000 days and nights. Shinji has spent more time on the operating table than with his family. It is I, a person without blood ties, who has taken care of this child as if he were my own. From when he was a little kid with a lisp who couldn't speak clearly, to now being articulate enough to often be chosen as a little host for school events. From being so frail that he had to be hospitalized almost every week, to now going months without a single sneeze and becoming a 9th-degree Taekwondo champion in the children's division. And now, this child calls me an outsider. I turned to look at Shinji. Shinji remained silent, his brow slightly furrowed, not uttering a single word of reprimand for Shinsi's earlier actions. I trembled as I asked him, do you think so too? He pressed his brow and said, don't overthink it. Just get some sleep. At that moment, I suddenly didn't want to hold on anymore. Get a divorce. You 3 can go reunite. The divorce agreement was placed on the coffee table in the living room early the next morning. The division of assets was very clear. I will fight for the appreciation of the house and the joint savings. Anything that doesn't belong to me, I won't take a single extra cent. The child is not my biological son, so naturally he belongs to him. When he got up, it seemed he had already forgotten about last night. While tying his tie, he said to me, Little Xiao's mom wants to take him to Disneyland this weekend. When you take Little Xiao to school later, please ask the teacher for a leave in advance. I nodded towards the coffee table. The divorce agreement. Take a look. If there are no objections, just sign it. As for Xiao Xiao, starting today he is no longer my child, and I will not send him to school anymore. He suddenly looked up, his usually cold expression now tinged with a hint of anger. Zhao Yingying, you know what I dislike the most is the habits you've brought from society. Crying, cursing, and threatening to hang yourself. None of that works on me. I warn you one last time. Do not test my patience. I could hardly contain my laughter. What have I brought from society? Strength and independence. Perhaps. Clearly, society's beatings haven't been enough for me. Otherwise, I shouldn't be caught up in a love-struck haze, finding a second-hand man who still thinks about his ex during my prime years. I slammed the divorce agreement down in front of him, pulling out my long-lost social habits. Shinji, if you were a real man, you wouldn't cling to me. There are plenty of men in the world who can sleep. I don't need your toothpick. His face instantly turned ashen, and he picked up the pen, swiftly signing his name. I went on a trip. After 7 years of marriage, Shinji and I have never even had a honeymoon. The farthest place I've been is the suburban wholesale market where I stock my clothing store. Aside from running the store, my life consists solely of taking care of the 2 men in the Shin family. My former friend Wang Nana joked that I had gone too far in turning over a new leaf, strictly adhering to the rules. At that time, I even retorted that it was because I had found the happiness I desired. Little did I expect it would end up in a mess. A few high-speed train tickets. From north to south. I went to the factory where I twisted screws at 16. I revisited the bar where I sold liquor at 18. I had a meal with an old friend with whom I once had a mutual dislike. I also took a walk in my old hometown village, where no close relatives are alive anymore, trying hard to recognize each person's grave, burning paper and offering incense for them. The old times flow before my eyes. And looking back, it's already a world of change, yet the joy that I can taste in my mouth is still the happiness I possess. No matter how difficult it may be. Since when did I stop being happy? Wang Nana is right. I have lost myself. From that moment on, I didn't know how to truly be happy anymore. A month passed quickly. On the day I returned to Hangzhou, the divorce cooling-off period had just ended. After getting off the plane, I went straight to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Qinji remained as calm as ever, and when it came time to sign, his hand holding the pen was as steady as when he held a scalpel. He had no objections to the division of property, and even gave me an extra 200,000 as compensation for the loss of my youth over the past 7 years. I was devastated. 200,000. 7 years. Which averages to less than 30,000 a year for the depreciation of my youth. I returned the 200,000, smiled, and said, "You're already 40. It's time to think about old age. You'll need this money more." Qinji lowered his head, and in his bloodshot eyes, I could clearly read a hint of sadness. Shouldn't he be laughing heartily at the sky? The former lover has returned. The space beside him has been cleared, and his son has accepted his biological mother without any resentment towards the stepmother. Everything is fitting together so well. What a match made in heaven. He is still here playing the part of the heartbroken. Men are truly hypocritical. I waved my hand casually, not even looking back, and strode forward. That day, I officially announced my divorce on social media. My friend Wang Nana took me to a bar to celebrate for me. After a few drinks, I was wearing my little short skirt, dancing to outdated steps. Yet I still became the most alluring woman on the dance floor. The men surrounding me ranged from 20 to 50, all with 8-pack abs and long legs, proving that my 30-year-old face and figure still had quite the impact. That night, I partied at the bar until around 2 or 3 in the morning, then stumbled back to the shop and fell into a deep sleep. When I woke up, there were passers-by outside, their voices lively and cheerful, but sitting by the window was a tall figure, with thick brows and sharp features. A meaningless faint smile lingered at the corner of his mouth, a warning to keep strangers at bay. I let out a scream. He rushed towards me. Before I had a chance to kick him away, he had already wrapped his arms tightly around my waist. He tilted his head back, tears seemingly swirling in his eyes. Choked out, "If you don't take responsibility for me, I'll crash in front of you." My mind went blank, and an overwhelming sense of guilt instantly engulfed me. Then I remembered that I was divorced, and my morals suddenly flew out the window. Wasn't it just sleeping with a ridiculously handsome man? This is what I deserve. Then my brain started to work at high speed. Who is this? What happened? I didn't feel anything. Like an external intrusion. Could it be that he's a toothpick? He timely reminded. First, take a look at your social circle. I pulled out my phone and unlocked it, only to find a slew of missed calls, nearly half of which were from Qinji. When I opened my moments, the latest post nearly blinded me. A complete 9-grid. All of me embracing a man in a passionate kiss, from various angles and under different lights. He closed his eyes with even more immersion than I did, and it could even be described as enjoyment. The comments below the post are simply unbearable, all filled with mockery and teasing. Oh my goodness. Is this something we can watch for free? Is there anything more explosive than just kissing? I want to see it all. Let me download and save it quickly, in case the system harmonizes it and I can't see it anymore. This group of bastards really thinks things aren't chaotic enough. The man next to me looked at me with that kind of "I didn't wrong you, did I?" expression. I held my dizzy head, completely unable to recall that this had happened last night at the bar. At that moment, my phone rang again. I groggily answered it, only to realize it was Shinji. On the other end, he bombarded me with questions. "Zhao Yingying, why didn't you answer my call? Is it to provoke me and show off your capabilities? Is fooling around with wild men really the reason you want a divorce from me? I need you to give me an explanation. For 7 years of marriage, he has always been indifferent towards me. Never this agitated before, but he is so narcissistic, thinking that I am doing this just to provoke him." I was about to retort when, out of nowhere, the man next to me let out a high-pitched scream. "Oh woo." All three of us fell silent. A few seconds later, Shinji suddenly exploded in anger. "Zhao Yingying, what are you doing right now? Stop immediately. Don't let things get out of hand." The man reached over to grab the phone, ended the call, and conveniently helped me block Shinji's number. "Let's talk about our situation first." I brandished the feather duster and chased the man out. Before pulling down the rolling shutter, I pressed him. "Did you enjoy it when I was nibbling on you?" He bit his lip and nodded shyly. "But I don't remember if I was having fun or not." "You had fun. I didn't. Who do you think should be responsible for whom? Don't come looking for me again. I don't like messing around with strangers." Later, Wang Nana gave me an explanation. She said that after I got high at the bar, I first jumped onto the dance floor, snatched the DJ's microphone, and shouted, "I'm divorced. The next one can start lining up." Then, among the crowd of men and women surging forward, I casually hooked one and started making out. Wang Nana exclaimed, "What kind of hand do you have?" With just a casual flick, you pulled out a pure-hearted handsome guy. You have no idea that after you let him go, both his ears turned completely red. Later, he insisted on walking you back to the shop. Am I supposed to break up a couple? I don't want to know the details of last night. As a woman who once sold drinks in a bar, I truly feel I have let down my years of work experience. The drinks in the bar are all fake. How can one drink freely? That drink really hits hard. Wang Nana still wouldn't give up and asked, "So, did he stay over? Was it good?" What a load of crap. No, nothing happened at all. Okay. The clothes I'm wearing are still the ones I had on last night while out at the bar. Not a single piece missing. But, since he didn't do anything, did he really wait in my shop for most of the night just to seek compensation? I took a full 2 days off to regroup. First, I found a construction team to renovate my shop, making it a bit more atmospheric. During this time, a mutual friend of mine and Shinji called to ask me, "Why did you divorce Dr. Shen? Is it because his ex has come back?" I didn't answer directly. The other party seemed to already have an answer. No wonder Dr. Shen has been absent from surgeries so often. The hospital has recently suspended his work and given him a serious reprimand. A 40-year-old man so lovesick that he even gives up his career. It's truly lamentable. This news indeed surprised me, yet it was also somewhat expected. Shinji regarded work as his life. But everything in front of Su Shaoqing was just a fleeting cloud. Now that he had taken a break from work, he actually had plenty of time to pursue his old love. After the store was renovated and reopened, I began preparing to do live streaming sales. I have thousands of followers on my social media account, and I had previously done live streams selling clothes from the store. Later, Shin-si, still a bit confused, asked me, "Mom, what does it mean to sell goods? The doctors at Dad's hospital said you're a seller." This wasn't the first time the doctors at the hospital had teased me. In the first year of my marriage to Shinji, I attended their hospital's annual meeting, and the family members present were either PhDs or master's degree holders. with hardly any undergraduates. I heard them whispering and discussing. Did you know, Dr. Chin's second wife only has a middle school education? I didn't expect Dr. Chin to be no exception. Only seeking beauty. I entered society in middle school, not because I was bad at studying, but because my family was poor. Life has worn me down for over 20 years without dulling my edges. But from that day on, I learned for the first time what the word inferiority meant. From then on, I no longer participated in any activities at the hospital that required family members to attend. I don't want my man to be embarrassed in front of others, and Shinshi hasn't invited me again. Similarly, I also don't want Shinsisha to have any negative feelings because of me. I told him that those who sell goods are also workers. Like in any other industry, they earn money through their own efforts and are not inferior to any other profession. In the end, I still stopped the live streaming and just stuck to the physical store. Watching the business get worse and worse, the trend of selling goods online is irreversible. I need to get back to live streaming. There's nothing shameful about that. On the day the new equipment arrived, taking advantage of the fact that there were no customers in the store at noon, I set up the equipment in the specially designated live streaming area. More people entered the store, with intense brows and eyes, and chiseled features. A meaningless faint smile hung at the corner of his mouth. Keeping strangers at bay. He was the compensation man I had wolf-kissed at the bar that day, who later chased after me demanding reparations. I asked him with a sullen face, "What are you here for? You might as well call the police and say I assaulted you. Let the law decide. And I'll pay whatever amount they rule." He pouted, spread his arms and legs, and plopped down onto the single sofa. "I'm not calling the police. They'll just wait for your conscience to kick in. Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't have that thing." I ignored him and continued to adjust the equipment. He rushed over and snatched the screwdriver from my hand. "If your conscience doesn't kick in, it'll ruin all your equipment." Under his threat, he set up the lighting rig, positioned the phone stand, wiped the dust off the microphone, and even mopped the floor, leaving it quite clean. When the store closed that day, he walked out proudly, saying, "I'll be back tomorrow." The next day, he arrived on time and helped me upgrade the broadband. On the third day, he continued to come, even helping me announce the live broadcast time, because there was a male model-like person appearing in the store every day. Young girls flocked in, and the business improved quite a bit. Although this is a good thing, where in the world does a pie fall from the sky? Aside from stumbling in marriage, I was never immature in my youth, and certainly not after turning 30. "What do you want me to compensate you with?" I asked him. "Is 5,000 enough?" He seemed to be experiencing a tremendous humiliation. His hands crossed over his chest, his narrow eyes exaggeratedly glistening with moisture. "Is my first kiss really only worth 5,000? First kiss?" I looked him up and down a few times. By any measure, he was at least in his 20s, looking like a domineering CEO when not smiling, and dazzlingly charming when he did. People who say they've never kissed someone like that are just lying. I impatiently extended a finger. 10,000. No more. Although I got some money from the divorce, it was earned through 7 years of hard work, not just blown in by the wind. 10,000 for a kiss. Pfft. I could make such a losing deal too. I've really wasted my time in society. But the other party was still stubborn and unyielding, with a small mouth chattering, "Wealth cannot corrupt." Very good. Showing off that you've been educated. Huh. I raised the feather duster, and he ran outside. When I chased out, I heard a child's voice nearby dragging out a long sound. "Mom." I turned around. It was Shinsi Xiao. Today is a school day. He was wearing his uniform and carrying a backpack. Yet he came here. It was obvious that he had skipped class. I was just about to speak when the claims man, with both hands in his pockets, looked down at Shinsi Xiao and said in an even colder tone, "Kid, as far as I know, This lady next to me hasn't given birth yet. So please don't casually refer to her as mom. Okay. His face was drawn long, as if he was born unable to smile. Yet he raised an eyebrow at me, his face clearly saying, "That's right. I did go inquire about your information. I admit that in the 2 months since leaving the Shin family, I have missed Shin Xiao. That month of traveling was particularly intense. Once I returned to the hotel and had some free time, I would think about my previous marriage. It was then that I realized my feelings for this child were actually stronger than those I had for Shinji. Love is a feeling. When the feeling fades, the excitement suddenly diminishes. Yet affection is a kind of bond. I still remember the first time I met Shin Xiao. He was not yet 3 years old. He had a fever and was brought to the hospital by his nanny. The nanny placed Xiao on the office desk and complained that this child was too difficult to handle, declaring that she was quitting and leaving just like that. Shinji was on the operating table early this morning and hasn't come down yet. Only I, having pursued Shinji, arrived early to wait for him in his office. Xiao's little face was flushed with fever, sweat soaking his hair, crying and repeatedly calling for his dad. It was I who held him in my arms, took him to the pediatric department to register, and arranged for his hospitalization. At that time, when the doctor asked what my relationship with the patient was, Xiao was watching from the side with his round, bright eyes. It was he who took the initiative to call out the word mom. At that moment, I thought, this is the fate between Shinji and me. Even his son called me mom the first time he saw me. If this isn't a match made in heaven, then what is? At that time, I was just over 20, yet I developed a maternal love for someone else's son. And it grew stronger day by day, until 7 years later, he defined me as an outsider. Now, he has come to seek out this outsider again. The compensation man stretched his legs out on the single sofa, his displeasure evident on his face. I took a towel and wiped the dust off Shinseisho's face, lightly asking him, "Why aren't you going to school?" He pressed his lips together for a long time, then whispered, "I miss my mom." The compensation man let out a heavy humph. Shinseisho's eyes suddenly turned red. I know he is not a child who cries easily. Since he became fascinated with Superman at the age of 4 or 5, he rarely sheds tears. But at this moment, his eyes are already glistening. My heart feels like it's been pricked by a needle. I reach out my hand to wipe his tears, but then pull it back. He is not the same as before. He has already reciprocated with his biological mother. I shouldn't overstep my boundaries. I handed him a bottle of orange soda. "Once you finish the soda, I'll have them come pick you up." The claimant immediately protested loudly. I object. I ignored him and urged Shinseishao. The 10-year-old child did not go to get the soda, and tears began to fall again. He started to cry. "I don't want to go back. I miss mom. I want to be with mom. Your mom lives in a fairy tale-like villa." "No. My mom is here." He rushed over and wrapped his arms around my waist. The claims guy's expression darkened even further. He reached out and grabbed Shinsi's collar, pulling him aside. Then he tossed my phone back to me. I suppressed the turmoil within and made a call to Su Shaoqing. But the one who came to pick me up was Shinji. Shinji was dressed in a tailored suit, his tie meticulously knotted, having climbed into the upper echelons of society, his spending now beyond comparison. He didn't take Shinseishao away immediately. Instead, he wanted to sit down and adopt a posture for a long conversation. The claims man was one step ahead, seizing the single sofa, and he was quite smug about winning the first round, exaggeratedly raising his eyebrows. Shinji recognized who this person was, and his expression grew even darker. He suggested to me, "Shall we go outside and talk?" I didn't know what he wanted to say, but ever since I decided to divorce him, I didn't want to waste any more time on him. Not even a minute. I hadn't spoken yet when the claims guy immediately stood up, wrapping his arm around my shoulder as if to assert his territory. "She doesn't want to be alone with you." I pinched him hard. His muscles were as hard as stone, showing no sign of retreat. Shinji's hand was tightly clenched into a fist, and when he saw that I didn't push the person beside me away, his expression darkened significantly in an instant. I had no choice but to say, "If there's something to say, let's say it here." His voice was low, as if he were talking to himself. "Ying, actually, when I divorced you back then, it was out of impulse. Then, are you regretting it now?" As soon as I asked the question, the man beside me tightened his hold on me a bit more. Shinji was silent, neither admitting nor denying it. For the first time in my life, I felt that Shinji was despicable, because he had clearly started preparing for the wedding with Su Shaoqing. After Su Shaoqing added me, neither of us removed each other. In the past half-month, I learned from her moments that she had started picking dates, ordering wedding dresses, and looking for diamond brands. Look, how timely I gave up my seat. The Wi-Fi really connected. Now he says he was impulsive. One of the reasons I fell in love with him before was his noble character, devoid of the greasy indifference of a socialite. At that time, he was glowing, but now he has promised marriage to another woman while telling his ex-wife that he was impulsive. What? Do you want to remarry me? I took his phone out of his pocket and directly dialed Su Shaoqing's number. Tell her you regret it and don't want to marry her anymore. I looked at him provocatively. The call was quickly connected, and Su Shaoqing's gentle voice came through. Darling, have you picked up Xiao Xiao? I mouthed at him, urging, say it. Say you're not getting married. After a moment of panic, his expression returned to his usual calm demeanor. I've picked him up, and he'll be back soon. I smiled. Laugh at me for being blind in one eye 7 years ago. I misjudged. This man is not a real man. When Shinji left with his son, Shinji kept calling out mom incessantly. The man next to him shouted back, "What kind of mother is she to you? Don't act crazy." From that day on, Shinji kept contacting me. I had already blocked his number, so we couldn't talk. Yet he actually thought of using a food delivery service to send messages every day. Along with the takeout, there's a message on the receipt. I miss you so much today. I thought of you again today. As a medical prodigy capable of writing complex papers and the head of the department, his language is so barren that it's hard to believe. The takeout, of course, all went into the belly of the compensation man, while he chewed away. He would also comment on each note on the order. Not romantic at all. What kind of confession is this? Your ex-husband is reassuringly dull. I snatched the lunchbox from his hands. Do you even have a home? Aren't you working? What do you think you're doing? Shamelessly mooching off me. A grown man without a job, just hanging around all day eating and drinking. Aren't you ashamed? The playful smile on his face slowly faded, and gradually there was no expression at all. This was the first time I saw him serious, and it was somewhat frightening. If he suddenly went crazy in the next second, with his size, I would only be left to take the beating. At that moment, I felt a bit regretful, just thinking about how to change the awkward situation when he spoke up. Sister Ying, you really don't remember me. After he left, I thought for a long time about what he said. Don't I remember him? What should I remember about him? I was born in the countryside, and after dropping out of school, I drifted around everywhere. I have seen handsome men, but none as pure and shy as him. I have encountered aimless people, but none with his level of good looks. Later, after arriving in Hangzhou, illness brought me and Shinji together. Shinji is simply the pinnacle of outstanding men I could meet in real life. Yet even someone as outstanding as Shinji appeared to be at a disadvantage in looks when standing next to him. If I had met him before, I would definitely not have forgotten. So, who exactly is he? But in any case, I still managed to send him away. During the time Shinji continued to order takeout, my live stream selling finally went online. Although I had a small fan base, due to the long period without updates, There weren't many active followers left. Before the live stream, I was worried that the opening performance would be dismal, so I specifically asked Wang Nana to stay in the live room and speak more to counteract the bleak atmosphere. But I never expected that as soon as the link went live, it would be snatched up in a second. The 5 styles of clothes prepared in advance were completely sold out. Wang Nana was taken aback. Wow, your divorce really is a case of extreme fortune following misfortune. Even the god of wealth is paying attention to you. The same thing happened the next night. It was the same on the 3rd day. In just 3 days, I sold 500,000 worth of goods. And the progress was simply unbelievable. But then things took a turn for the worse. Due to my limited experience and insufficient preparation, the warehouse simply didn't have that much stock. Wang Nana and I had to head to the wholesale market before dawn to pick up goods. And once we returned to the store, we buried ourselves in packing. It was only after packing that the clues were revealed. Almost 90% of the delivery addresses were the same, and they just happened to be in Hangzhou. Looking at the property address, it was still a villa community famous for gathering celebrities, and it was astonishingly expensive. Wang Nana was filled with surprise. When did you get to know such a wealthy person? His pursuit of you is both tacky and extravagant, yet so subtle. Is it implicit? A shadow suddenly leaped into my mind. Wang Nana and I went straight to that neighborhood. When we arrived outside the neighborhood, I used Wang Nana's phone to dial the phone number left by the recipient. After the bell rang 3 times, the other party picked up. I deliberately lowered my voice and said, "Is this lose the whole world in 1 second? You have a package that has arrived, but the security won't let us deliver it inside. Could you please come out to pick it up?" The other party didn't say much, just gave a brief before hanging up the phone. 10 minutes later, a familiar figure appeared at the entrance of the community. He was 1.90 meters tall, with long legs, wearing the same sleeveless tank top as when I first saw him, which showcased his well-defined chest and a full set of 8-pack abs. I let out a cold laugh. The moment he saw me, he covered his face and turned to leave. I shouted, "What are you feeling guilty about? You can do it but can't admit it." He paused, turned around as if he had just seen me, and feigned surprise, saying, "Wow, what a coincidence to run into you here. What a fate." I was almost driven mad with anger. "What do you mean? Is it fun to tease me like this? Being rich makes you special." Huh. He was clearly as tall as a straight poplar tree, yet he slowly drooped his head and said softly, "If it's of no use to you, then being rich isn't anything special." Wang Nana pushed me gently, gave me a meaningful glance, and whispered, "Why are you being so fierce? What a quality suitor. You must have ancestors blessing you to meet such a man. Don't be ungrateful." After her scolding, I smiled like a sunflower and approached him, asking very kindly, "You like my ying, don't you?" His earlobes instantly turned red. He stole a glance at me, and nodded slightly. Wang Nana asked again, "How long have you liked her?" "It's been a long time," the claims man said awkwardly. Wang Nana exclaimed, her eyes instantly sparkling, "Who else is in your family? What's your annual income? Is the villa in this neighborhood rented or bought? Can you make your own decisions about marriage? You don't have a marriage contract hidden away, do you? Is there an illegitimate child outside? Do you have someone special in your heart? Have you cut ties with your ex completely?" We Ying certainly won't be anyone's stand-in, nor will we play the role of a surrogate mother again. In an instant, she fired off a series of questions. Her talent would be wasted if she didn't become a professional matchmaker. Seeing that she was ready to dig deeper, I stepped forward to cover her mouth and pulled her away. But my phone rang at the most inopportune moment. It was Mr. Zhang, Shinsis homeroom teacher, calling. I originally didn't want to answer, but the other party was relentless, continuously dialing. When I finally picked up, the person hurriedly said, "Si Xiao's mom, you need to hurry to the People's Hospital. Chen Xiao has fainted from stomach pain, and am already taking him in the ambulance. On the way to the hospital, I was restless. The claims man, whose name I didn't even know, was driving ahead, occasionally glancing at me in the rearview mirror. Wang Nana held my hand to comfort me. Don't worry. You used to take good care of Xiao Xiao. His physical condition is excellent, and nothing could possibly go wrong. Besides, isn't his biological mother from a wealthy family? Rich people can treat any illness. The man in front, who was demanding compensation, snorted. He has a biological mother too. Why are you calling me? This remark reminded me. I thought for a moment and called Su Xiaoqing. No one has been answering over there. I had no choice but to leave her a message. Xiao Xiao is sick and has been taken to the people's hospital by the teacher. Please go there as soon as you see this message. When I arrived at the hospital, Chen Xiao had already entered the operating room. It was acute appendicitis, and surgery needed to be performed immediately. The homeroom teacher said. Before the surgery, Chen Xiao kept telling me that if his mother came, please don't let her leave. He wanted to see her first when he woke up. I forced a pale smile. This mother is more likely referring to his biological mother. Qin Shi also arrived quickly, but Su Xiaoqing was still nowhere to be seen. Outside the quiet operating room, only a wall clock quietly counted the time. After the surgery, Qin Si was brought out by the medical staff. The anesthesia had begun to wear off, and he opened his eyes. At the first sight of me, he struggled and barely audibly called out to me, "Mom." I stepped forward and his icy hand, whispering, "I'm here." After Shen Xiao settled into the hospital room and the nurse was in place, it was already 7 in the evening. The stubborn child kept looking at me, but couldn't withstand the effects of the medication, and fell into a heavy sleep while holding my hand. I slowly withdrew my hand. I should be leaving too. The claims guy stayed in the ward, and when he saw I was about to leave, he immediately followed me out of the room. He exaggeratedly said, "If he keeps monopolizing you, I might just have to burst his bubble. He can't take advantage of his illness to take my life." "How could it be your life?" I scoffed. I ran into Shinji, who was out to buy food. He seemed a bit surprised. "Are you leaving?" "Wait until Xiao Xiao wakes up," the man claiming compensation said directly. "Let him find his real mother. He's already 10 years old and still running around calling anyone mom. It's ridiculous." I gently closed the door to the ward and took a few steps forward. The 2 men followed me as well. I turned to look at Shinji. He was about to enter marriage, yet he didn't seem as radiant as I had imagined. He had lost a lot of weight, and under the glaring fluorescent lights of the hospital, there were even a few silver strands at his temples. He had indeed aged. I looked into his eyes and said seriously, "When he wakes up, please tell him not to let the teacher call me anymore. But you are his mother." I couldn't help but laugh. "Dr. Chen, what kind of mother am I? You should understand. We are divorced, and I have no relationship with him anymore. Moreover, his biological mother loves him too." He fell silent, and even his usually straight back slumped. I've cancelled the wedding with Xiaoqing." He chuckled softly. "You know, when I had the chance to start over with her, I realized that my heart is filled with you. The passion you had when you pursued me, the quirks you showed when you were being a little difficult, the playful poses we struck together in front of the door when you dropped Xiao Xiao off at school." His gaze grew increasingly earnest. "Ying Ying, can we start over? Xiao Xiao and I can't live without you." "That's impossible." I immediately rejected him. He looked determined. "I don't believe it. We were so happy together. I have to win you back." I really don't want to get involved in any more of his disputes. The fact that he orders takeout to the shop every day is enough to drive me crazy. I took a deep breath and turned to the claims guy beside me, asking, "Last time I kissed you, did you enjoy it?" He was momentarily taken aback by my sudden change of topic, but then quickly nodded. All right. Let me give you another thrill, I said to Shinji. Pay close attention. I reached out and hooked my arm around the claims guy's neck, standing on my toes to press my lips against his. When I let go, the claims guy was breathing heavily, his face flushed, beads of sweat on the tip of his nose, and his eyes still squinting. As soon as he opened his eyes, his body suddenly shook, as if he had just woken from a dream. Then he took off like a rabbit, running away without a trace. I was momentarily dumbfounded, then turned to Shinji. As you can see, I have already started a new relationship and am enjoying it. I'm no longer interested in what happens to you. So please don't do anything boring. He had a look of constipation, as if he had just been hit hard by the kiss he had witnessed. Yet he was unwilling to give up. No, you're just being impulsive and have chosen the wrong person. Look at your little boyfriend. He kisses and then runs away. Completely unreliable. Ying. I don't mind any of this, as long as you're willing to turn back. He initiated several rounds of tug-of-war, and no matter what I said, he still had to struggle desperately. It was very hard for me when I was pursuing him, and later, after we got married. He rarely invested any energy in me. I once thought how wonderful it would be if he could treat me the way I once cherished him, but now that he has come back to pursue me, it only makes me feel irritated. My love for him has completely vanished. He suddenly knelt on one knee, ignoring the passing medical staff and patients around us, and looked up at me with determination, saying, Ying, marry me. You always said that in this life. No one has ever proposed to you. Now I solemnly ask you to marry me again. At that moment, a heavy sound of running suddenly came from a distance. In just a few breaths, a tall figure appeared before my eyes. The claimant was sweating profusely, and from a few steps away, he lunged forward and knelt, then slid a few meters forward, bumping into Shinji, and stopped in front of me. I live alone, and I am engaged in robotics research and development. My company is a startup, and my income is unstable. Last year it was 20 million. My villa is purchased, and next to it, there is another one left by my parents before they passed away. I have no marriage contract, nor do I have any illegitimate children. I have no exes, only a pure white moonlight in my heart, and she is standing right in front of me. He knelt before me, holding a red velvet box in his hands. Inside the box lay a sparkling diamond ring. Ms. Zhao Ying, I am Chu Jingsheng. Will you marry me? When I was 14, there was an old bachelor in the village who spent 50,000 yuan to buy a son from a human trafficker. Someone to take care of him in his old age. The old man named his son Dogwa, because a cheap name is easier to raise. But his real name was actually Chu Jingsheng. The reason I know this is that the old man would often beat him to make him recognize the family, causing him to hide everywhere. He was already 10 years old at that time, and it was said to be the age when one could not be raised. If the selling price hadn't been low, the old man would never have bought him. Once, he hid in the pig pen of my house, and when I came home from school to feed the pigs, I saw him. My parents had passed away early, leaving only my grandfather and me to rely on each other. That day, I made him a hearty meal, and my grandfather gave him a change of clean clothes. Finally, Grandpa carried a piece of wood while I held the shepherd's whip, and together we went to reason with the old man. You can raise them, but you can't return someone else's child. The old man hid inside the house and retorted, Why should I? I bought the child for 50,000. Why should I return him? But he was also afraid that my grandpa would really take action. And after that, he dared not beat the dog boy anymore. Just 2 days after this incident, the old man went out drinking and died of alcohol poisoning outside. My grandfather and I took Dog Boy to the town to report to the police, claiming he was a child who had been abducted. The police collected information and were originally going to send him to a welfare institution before finding his family. Dog Boy had only experienced kindness from my family along the way. He trusted no one, crying and shouting that he wanted to go with us. So, the police allowed him to stay at my house first, waiting to contact his family before taking him back. He ended up staying for 2 years. 2 years later, the police found information about his parents and came to take him away. Before leaving, he said with determination on his face, "Sister Ying, wait for me. I will definitely come back with money to treat Grandpa's illness." At that time, Grandpa's health was already very poor. He had only been gone for 3 months when Grandpa passed away. I buried Grandpa, dropped out of school, and entered the world. The last impression that Dogwell left on me was still that of a dark, thin, introverted little kid. I never would have imagined that, in just over a decade, he would have grown into the person he is now. While in the hospital, in front of Shinji, I did indeed accept Dogwa's diamond ring and, amidst the applause of the onlookers, intertwined my fingers with his and left together. Seeing Shinji's face, which was filled with despair and desolation, was indeed quite satisfying. But now, I still returned the diamond ring to him. Chu Jingsheng, although we have some old memories together, after more than a decade, we are actually no different from strangers. I know it was unfair of me to use you to fend off Shinji just now, but I really don't want to talk about the next love so soon. I'm sorry. If you feel hurt, then they'll let you enjoy it one more time. I tightly closed my eyes and pouted my lips forward. Anyway, I'm in my 30s, so getting a kiss from a young stud isn't a loss at all. I stood in the evening breeze, waiting, and I sensed the figure in front of me step closer. Finally, a bony hand gently brushed against my cheek. A warm sensation briefly appeared on my forehead, then vanished. I blinked in surprise and opened my eyes, instinctively reaching to touch the still warm corner of my forehead. He smiled and took a step back. All his usual teasing put away in that moment. "Zhao Ying, please promise me that if one day you want to talk about a love that lasts a lifetime, I will be the first one you consider." "Okay." He gazed deeply into my eyes, as if he were capturing all the starlight in the world within his gaze. "What if I say no?" "No. Do you think if I wanted to have some fun, you could escape my clutches?" "Ah. Epilogue. At the age of 35, I got married for the second time. On the night of the wedding, my second husband, Chu Jingsheng, took me on our honeymoon. We originally planned to travel the world, but after visiting just a dozen cities, I discovered I was pregnant and had to return to Hangzhou to take care of the baby. On the day I went to the hospital to give birth, there was a commotion outside the ward. At that time, I had just given birth to my daughter and was too exhausted to speak, so I didn't pay much attention. Later, I found out that Shinji, who I hadn't been in touch with for years, had somehow learned about my hospitalization and came to see me quietly, only to run into Chu Jingsheng by coincidence. The two of them got into a fight. According to the caregiver, a 40-year-old man stands no chance against someone in their 20s. He can only take the beating. It seems that during my hospital stay, I didn't see Shinji, precisely because he couldn't hold his own against Chu Jingsheng. No wonder Chu Jingsheng was in such a good mood those days. After leaving the hospital, I went straight to the confinement center. With previous experience, Chu Jingsheng set up a scene downstairs at the maternity center using his company's robotic monitoring equipment. Before long, an alarm sounded from downstairs. Then came the careless shouts of several teenagers. "Mom. I'm looking for my mom." I recognized it. It sounded like Shen Xiao's voice. The boy had already entered puberty, but the tone of his voice still carried the remnants of his childhood. I did not get up. He will always understand that the rain of the past year cannot nourish the summer flowers of this year. Some things have passed, so let them be. Chu Jingsheng held his daughter and slowly made his way to the terrace. I heard him arrogantly say, "Child, not everyone can call my wife mom. Dr. Shen, can you manage your son?" End of text. 18 Shanxi Xiao Extra. The nanny said that I don't have a mother. She was wrong. Later, my mother came home, and she was just as gentle as I had imagined. With a hint of playfulness in her gentleness, she would carry me to kindergarten and always said in a high-pitched voice when saying goodbye to Dad, "Master, I'm off." When she went to the suburbs to stock up for her clothing store, she would remind me, "Beiji, take good care of Master." At that time, I felt like the happiest child in the world, because other kids' moms were always so serious, while my mom was my friend. As I grew a little older, I started to hear discussions from others. It turns out that my mother is not my biological mother. She is my stepmother. Although she is as kind to me as she was when I was a child, I occasionally find myself wondering what my biological mother was like. I once stumbled upon a photo of a woman in a hidden folder on my dad's office computer. She had big waves in her hair, wore an exquisite gown, and smiled with a poised elegance. At this moment, I am certain that she is my biological mother. A year after flipping to this photo, I met her. She looks almost identical to the person in the photo. When she looks at me, it's just as warm as I had imagined. I was overjoyed. She took me out to eat, bought me the most expensive toys, and could take me abroad to play anytime. Every day felt like a dream. When I found out that Dad and Mom were getting married, I was so happy I could have jumped up. I finally have a complete home. At that time, I forgot that I had another mother. I also forgot the cruel words I had said that hurt her heart, until my biological mother began to teach me the rules. You can't make faces casually. You shouldn't skip or jump while walking, even in the heat of summer. You must wear a little suit and tightly tie a bow tie at the collar. These rules make me uncomfortable. I can never remember. So my mom always scolds me. You haven't learned a single good thing from that stepmother of yours. Dad isn't any easier either. When I meet him, he is also dressed in a stiff suit, his body rigidly upright, like a marionette on strings. He saw me sweating profusely and quietly asked if I was tired. I said I missed my mom. Not this mom. It's the mom from before. I miss her smiling and saying, "Beiji, take good care of Master." I want to eat the salty soy milk she made by hand, paired with egg tarts. I want to snuggle in her arms, constantly calling her mom. But now, it's all gone. My dad had conflicts with my biological mother because of her strict discipline towards me. In the last confrontation, my dad shouted, "Xiao Xiao is still just a child. Why do you want to stifle his nature? Can't you treat him like Ying Ying does?" My biological mother screamed back, "If she's so good, why don't you all go back to her?" That day was the last time I saw my biological mother. She abandoned me and Dad once again, just like when I was born. And from that day on, my biological mother, my stepmother, I had no mother at all. Many years later, at my dad's funeral, Mom Zhao made a low-key appearance. I wanted to say a few more words to her, but her husband was by her side, just as he had done for many years. He once again warned me not to call her mom carelessly, and then took her away. "Mom, I no longer have the right to call you that. But Mom, you will always be my mom." 19 Chu Jing Voice Extra. I was abducted when I was 10 years old. I returned home when I was 12. To the person who saved me back then, I promised I would repay them. Not long after returning home, a series of events unfolded, and my parents passed away one after another. When I went back to look for them, the small village no longer had the person I wanted to find. Grandpa has passed away. Sister Ying Ying has also left. The villagers said that Ying Ying had gone out to work, and there were no relatives in the village. So it was uncertain whether she would come back in the future. When I ran into Ying Ying at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, it had already been 15 years since I had parted ways with her. It was also the 15th year that I had been searching for her. I pretended to be a passerby and overheard her talking with her ex-husband. Realizing that she was getting a divorce, It was truly a blessing from heaven. Then she took a taxi to the high-speed train station. I immediately had my assistant take over the company temporarily and also went to the high-speed train station. In a month's time, she traveled all over the country. I quietly followed her, as if I were walking through all her youth. Although she came out to travel, she wasn't very happy. I wanted to step forward and acknowledge her countless times, but I hesitated because of her melancholy. I know that in this world, some pains can only be healed alone. What I can do is accompany her at the small table next door while she drinks alone in the tavern at midnight. It is quietly stopping the traveler who wants to disturb her peace when she is alone on the high-speed train. Gazing out at the swiftly passing scenery. At the end of the journey, she returned to Hangzhou and got divorced. That night after the divorce, she went to a bar. Of course, I have to keep up. The music was so loud it felt like it was about to explode. She was drunk and ran up to the stage to grab the DJ's microphone. I rushed over to her, hearing her voice come through the microphone. "I'm divorced. The next one can start lining up." At this moment, she was stunningly beautiful in a wild and astonishing way. A clamor erupted, and countless men and women squeezed around her. I used all my strength, even resorting to kicking, and finally managed to get ahead. Then she hooked her hand, her slender and soft arm draping over my neck. She kissed me. Fireworks exploded in my mind. The end. Search 9 Scrolls of Brocade to see all of the author's works.